What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Matthew Moreno. Special guest, Alanna Rizzo, now of Dodgers territory, still doing stuff over with MLB Network. Alanna, thanks for joining us. What's it like to kind of be back specifically in Dodgers land?
Oh man, I wish I was still in LA, guys, but it's so good to be with you. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Matt. I'm happy to be on this show. Yeah, I joined up with friend Clint Pasillas, of course, over who does the All Dodgers podcast, and he and I are on a show called Dodgers Territory now on the Foul Territory channel, so you can check us out on YouTube as well and anywhere that you get your podcast. But when they approached me and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to come back and just talk Dodgers," I'm like, I'm in. I love this team. Obviously, I still bleed blue, and while I cover all 30 for the network, it's nice to be able to dive back into a team I covered for 7 years exclusively.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, Jeff, did you want to add anything or not?
No, go for it.
Okay. Alanna, so being back covering the team, you're used to the Dodgers obviously being successful, and certainly they got off to a hot start this season, and that was fun for everyone. But then the homestand was a little rough. Only, won 3 games out of the 9 that they played, 3-7 in their last 10. Panic has set in. I know that you, like you said, covering the team when you were back with Sports in LA, we've seen this, we've dealt with this. How do you try to tell people, hey, it is just April? Like, as much as maybe you might be concerned about the bullpen or the lineup or whatever the case is, what's happening now doesn't necessarily equal, October doom or success.
I always find it funny. It's like we're all Stuart Little, right? Like the sky is falling at this point. And that's the expectation that Dodgers fans have because they are used to having a good product on the field. We also have to remember how spoiled we are. We have a perennially good team that will go to the postseason again. I have no doubt that they're going to win the division. I have all the faith in the world that they will figure it out and have the pieces in place that they need moving forward. But coming into the season, I was concerned about the Dodgers pitching, not only the starting staff, but also the bullpen. And we're seeing that the middle relief needs some help. And we're also seeing that, we need some of these guys to get healthy. And we're also seeing the bottom of the order is not producing. That being said, it's April 22nd. I'm not concerned at all. This is a team that did not have a great homestand. They had a really good laugher game on Sunday against the Mets that they needed. I mean, this is a red hot Mets team right now, but the Dodgers were able to put up 10 runs. Freddie Freeman looks like he's starting to get things going. Tyler Glasnow shoved once again. He's been every bit of the ace and the stopper that this team has needed. So I'm not concerned. Yes. Do we want this team to go 162-0? Maybe not if they can't get out of the first round of the postseason. So I'd rather them stay the course, do what they're doing. They're going to be fine. And I'm more concerned about them getting deep into the postseason than I am about what's happening in the regular season.
And it's interesting too, I think, with all that panic, because we've heard a lot from fans like, oh, regular season, like Dodgers win 100 games. Like if you put something out about that, it's like, who cares? What are they going to do in October? And now it's the other end of the spectrum where they're not winning, they're not on pace for 140 wins or whatever. And fans are losing their mind. It's like, well, which way do you want it? But you mentioned the bullpen. I think that was an area that was a concern for a lot of people. And on one hand, the Dodgers maybe had a lot of depth and proven talent in the past with Blake Treinen. And as much as he's missed the last couple of years, he is coming back at some point. Have there been any surprises, though, with maybe how the group has sort of struggled, even while they're still waiting for some of the key pieces to come back?
I think the bullpen is the one thing that keeps everybody up at night, right? It always is. With every single team, you can ask any GM, any president of baseball ops, any manager. It's the bullpen as to why they have a lifetime supply of Tums and Alka-Seltzer next to them on their nightstand. And this is a bullpen, guys, that the middle relief has struggled a lot. But think about the fact that the Dodgers have 10 pitchers on the IL, starters and relief corps included in that. And there's some big names on there, right? Clayton Kershaw, of course, Walker Buehler. You now have Bobby Miller, who has a little bit of smoke. We'll see how long that smoke lasts. He's on the IL. Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin. I mean, that was their starting rotation last year, with Kirsch and Buehler and Gonsolin and Dustin May, and obviously Julio Urias, who is no longer pitching for the Dodgers. So then you have your two big bullpen pieces that are on the shelf. Bruce Dark-Gratterall, who's not there yet, and Blake Treinen, who is going to come back at some point, but then you don't know what you're going to get. You also just had Kyle Hurt go on the IL. And you have Connor Brogdon on the IL and Emmett Sheehan's on the IL. So those are the 10 guys that you have on the IL. That being said, you also have a starting staff with the exception of Tyler Glasnow that's not going deep into ball games because the starting staff, with the exception of Glasnow, is not eating up the innings. And what's happened is now the relief corps for the Dodgers has had to pitch 103 and a third innings of work. They are overworked. It is the most so far in all of baseball. That's tough. So part of the story is the guys on the IL. Part of the story is the starters not going deep. So that being said, they need to figure that out. And I think what we need is for Walker Buehler to figure it out as far as his rehab outings are concerned. And let's remember that's spring training for Walker, right? So let's not focus so much on the results. Let's focus on getting him out of Oklahoma City healthy. When he comes back, and then hopefully you get Kersh back, July, beginning of August or whatever it is. Hopefully this thing with Bobby Miller is not that big of a deal. And then hopefully, Paxton can start pitching better longer into games. And I hope that Yamamoto, he hasn't impressed me as much as I would have hoped, but it's only been about 4 or 5 starts. So I'm not ready to send him back to Japan and take away his $325 million. But he hasn't acclimated as fast as I had hoped. And maybe that's just magnified because of this really crappy stretch that the Dodgers are going through right now.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 of those names, Buehler and Kershaw, that I think in a funny way, I think, we'll all see it on our shows, are sort of becoming lightning rods, because I think there's a group of people that believe in Walker Buehler, believe in Clayton Kershaw. And I would say, even I'm putting myself in this category, maybe are too optimistic about both of these guys coming back because of emotional attachment to them, because of past success. And then you've got another group that is ready to ship these guys out and put them in the grave and send them off to retirement because to Tommy John's and Kershaw's first major surgery, and he's getting up there in age and velocity and all this stuff. And so I think I gather which of those two sides maybe you lean more towards. So as someone, it sounds like that believes Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw are going to be meaningful contributors, positive contributors. What gets you there? What is it that you point to and say, this is why I believe that these two guys are going to be difference makers?
Track record, obviously, for Kershaw. I know he's had a lot of injuries with the back, but it's never been the elbow. It's never really been the arm. It's always been more of the lower back issue. I understand this is his first major surgery, but the Dodgers don't need Clayton Kershaw until the middle of the year, right? The Dodgers will be fine to get to that point where getting Kershaw back is going to be like a really nice trade deadline signing, is what it's going to feel like to me. Walker Buehler scares me a little bit, because that'll be the second Tommy John surgery he's recovering from, and you don't really know what you're going to get as far as the rust is concerned. You cannot simulate live games in Oklahoma City or in rehab or whatever it is. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm hopeful that Yamamoto figures it out. I'm hopeful that he relies more on a fastball, is not afraid to throw up and in on guys. You can't throw off speed. You've got to have a fastball, and you've got to scare guys with it. Paxton, he is what he is, and I'm hopeful that the answer to that, Jeff, is I hope we're just able to maintain to get to the point where we're starting to get the reinforcements back. And I think when you have the offense that the Dodgers have, you don't need guys to go, I would love it if they threw a complete game shutout every single time they went out there.
Yeah.
The offense needs to get – the strength of the Dodgers team this year is not pitching. The strength of the Dodgers team is their lineup. And that being said – Freddie Freeman's got to get it going, which he is. He had 2 doubles on Sunday. He's starting to get there. But the bottom part of the order is what concerns me the most.
Real quick, before we move to the lineup, to follow up kind of on Kershaw, Jeff and I have been in the camp of, hey, when he was healthy last year, he was on track to start the All-Star game. Yeah. And then, the shoulder stuff started, or at least potentially be in the conversation. Shoulder stuff started, and then, he just wasn't the same. And obviously then the offseason came around. It's he actually needed surgery, and he was pitching through a pretty significant issue. Is there, as much as I think that he can potentially come back this season, do you have any hesitation at all by the fact that he signed basically a 2-year contract this time around instead of just going kind of, the 1 year that we had been seeing?
No, because I think Kershaw knows his body better than anybody else. And I'm sure the language of the contract is whatever Kershaw wants, Kershaw's going to get. I mean, this guy is a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think there's anybody on the planet. And I don't care about the postseason numbers. Okay. The guy is a Hall of Famer. He's the best left-handed pitcher of our generation. And we are so spoiled to have seen him at his glory for the past decade, right? Yeah. I mean, Kershaw is getting up there in age, but he's also a guy still to this day. There's never going to be a time for me that I don't want Clayton Kershaw on my roster. I will defend this man until my dying breath because I've lived this with this team for 7 straight years. Even before I met Kershaw, even before I started covering this team. So I've known him for a long time, and the work ethic surpasses any sort of feeling in my mind that that the game is passing him by. Can we rely on Kershaw to be the Kersh he was when he threw the no-hitter in 2014? Probably not. Yeah. But you know what? That's the beauty of this roster and the makeup in the front office. They will put the pieces together, and they've been given the opportunity because of a phenomenal ownership group. What other team has their own owners on their sleeves? Like, hey, we're so rich, we're just going to sponsor our own team. Yeah. So, it's like you have to think about the fact that this team has the pieces and the resources to put it together. Kershaw coming back can only benefit this club.
I've got a random question for you, Alanna. And as you were saying this, it reminded me of something. And Kershaw, I think, is the perfect example. But I think this applies to the Dodgers as a whole and fans. And I'm curious if you see this as somebody who's covered the sport nationally. It feels like nowadays fans want to be quick to bury somebody. Like they would rather be quick to like prevent themselves from being hurt later on. They want to doubt before they want to believe, because it's almost easier nowadays to like be wrong about a guy sucking than it is to say, oh, well, I gave up on him way before he sucked, that kind of thing. Like, is this unique to Dodgers fans? Because it's driving me crazy.
Jeff, Yankee fans want to trade Aaron Judge. This is the man that broke the record in the American League for the amount of home runs 2 years ago, beating Roger Maris, who beat Babe Ruth. They want him gone because he's hitting 183.
Does he want to come to the Dodgers?
We don't have room for him in the outfield. I mean, we actually do, because our bottom part, I think our outfielders coming into Friday's game were hitting like 176 collectively. Yeah. So yeah, that's not really great.
We need a number 8 hitter. I'm sure he could fill that hole for us.
Sure, but he's not a huge fan of the right field fence at Dodger Stadium, so I'm not certain that he'd actually come here. But my point is, fans are a finicky bunch, but they have a right to be, right? The reason that we play this game, and the reason that Aaron Judge can get the contract he got and Shohei can get the contract that he got and Juan Soto's going to get $1 bazillion is because of the fans, right? Yeah. So they have the right to have those opinions. But no, it's not just Dodgers fans withstanding. I mean, I'm certain St. Louis wants to run Paul Goldschmidt out of town, although they're not as crazy, I guess, as Dodgers fans and Yankees fans, but he's hitting 179. He's won the MVP award. Jose Abreu, who you would think, and I know Dodgers fans don't like Astros, I get it. But if Jose Abreu, who went from the White Sox to the Astros and is hitting at Minute Maid Park with the Crawford boxes, doesn't have a home run this year. It happens to the best players in the game. So, no, I do think that Dodgers fans obviously think that sky is falling. But let's think about the world that we live in. And I have two words for you to answer that question. Transfer portal. In college football now, if you don't like something, you just enter the transfer portal. If things don't go your way, screw it. I'm gonna go to a different team. And the grass is always greener on the other side. And that's kind of how fans feel. I'm sure that San Diego fans wanted to bury Juan Soto. You think that Yankee fans want to bury Juan Soto? He's their offense this year. Yeah. So again, fans are finicky. They have every right to be, but I can tell you, look at the overall picture. A lot of times fans want to paint a picture with a very thin brush. Look at the broad stroke. Look at the overall body of work of what this team has done. I have no doubt that Dave is going to figure it out. And I have no doubt that the top of the lineup is going to hit the way that they're supposed to. And we just need to inject something into the bottom of the lineup. Kike's got to hit. CT's got to hit. James Outman needs to figure it out. Luxie's got to figure it out. And they will. And I believe that.
I think you're reading my notes, Alanna, because my next question was specifically about the 4 players that you just mentioned. The bottom of the Dodgers order: Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez when he's in there, James Outman, Gavin Lux. These are all guys who have struggled. I'm curious, as we go through that list, Outman, Taylor, Kike, is there a guy on there that, Lux being the 4th, is there a guy on there that you are confident in more so maybe than the others? Or maybe it's 2 guys you're confident in that will figure it out?
For me, if I had to pick 2 of the 4, I haven't seen enough from Outman yet. I remember before he made the big league roster, for all of his spring training outings that I was watching from Camelback Ranch, I was screaming from the rooftops that he better make the big league club for opening day. And he did. because he had such a strong spring. He has obviously struggled to have consistency at the plate and be productive at the plate. But I do have all the faith in the world in Chris Taylor. And you and I talked about this, Jeff, on Dodgers territory probably a week ago when you said that Chris Taylor, starts off pretty slow in April and May. He's a below average hitter, but by the end of the year, he was a plus, an average plus offensive player. Yeah. And you guys have all the acronyms and all that stuff. I don't care about any of that.
Matt hates it. Matt hates it. Matt does not have any of the acronyms.
Care. Like, I'm more eye test and look at the guy's back of the baseball card. And, I don't even understand half of it. So I have faith that Chris is going to figure it out. And he needs to be honest. And Gavin, I do think will figure it out. Kike, for me, Kike's the guy I think that plays better when he gets to play every day. And that's a really tough situation in this current roster format and this current lineup because there's not enough space for Kike. For me, just play Kike in the postseason because whatever it is about the postseason, the guy is he's otherworldly in the postseason. So I have faith and I haven't seen enough from James Outman to have a real opinion on that. Yeah. But I don't doubt that CT will figure it out. I don't doubt that Kike can figure it out if given the opportunity to do so, where he's not constantly looking over his shoulder like someone's going to take his playing time. And I say that too based on personality because I know Kike and he needs to be in there every day. And Gavin Lux, I think, will figure it out too. I think what killed Gavin is getting hurt last year and losing the starting shortstop position and having to sit out because he was going to be the starter, right? And what a dream come true for a kid and from Kenosha, Wisconsin, to be the starting shortstop for the Dodgers. Then he gets hurt, and then he has a rough spring, and his arm accuracy wasn't great, his arm strength wasn't great, and now for whatever reason, it's kind of moved over to his offense. And, Mookie Betts is tough to compete with. I mean, the guy's a freak athlete. So, and remember, Mookie came up as an infielder and then he made himself an unbelievable Gold Glove right fielder. And now he's back in the infield. So the fact that Mookie's having success at short does not surprise me at all.
I'm realizing, Alanna, why you and Matt are such good friends. Matt hates the nerd stats. He's an eye test guy. Just give him pitcher wins and batting average, and Moreno is happy over here.
It's too Big Bang Theory for me. I'm like, just go with the hot hand, for God's sake. Yeah, do what Brian Snicker does with the Atlanta Braves. He runs the same damn 9 guys out there every single day, and they're the same guys in the order every day. And you always know where you're playing. You always know what spot in the lineup you're hitting, and go that route. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I give Jeff and Blake and Scott and I think even Daniel a little bit. Like I tell them they love computer baseball, and I'm trusting my gut and my eyes. I'm watching the game and letting it tell me.
Right.
But it kind of related to all that. And you mentioned, sort of Chris Taylor being somebody you would bet on, and Kike even in October. So can I take that to assume that you believe clutch is a thing as well?
1,000%. And to me, there's nobody. Does Jeff not believe in clutch? To me, there's nobody I would rather have at the plate, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, Game 7 World Series than Justin Turner or Freddie Freeman. Justin Turner is freaking clutch, and he gives you a professional at bat every single time. He works counts. He doesn't chase. And I feel like Freddie's that way too. And again, these are just guys that I see all the time. I'm sure for everybody else in the world that, I'm sure there's other guys that are clutch too. I'm just from my experience, who I watch the most, JT and Freddie.
Look, I'll make a full confession, and Matt knows this story. When Chris Taylor hit the huge home run in the wild card game against the Cardinals, it was like 2 innings before. I was like, this guy's terrible. He needs to get out of the game. Like Trace Thompson, I don't even remember who I wanted, but I was like, pinch hit somebody. And then Taylor comes up with a big hit, and I'm like, because I do believe in clutch, and I believe some guys just have a slower heartbeat in those moments. And I think it comes from a bunch of different reasons. And I do think Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor are definitely guys that come postseason time, they're going to, Now, what's hard though, Alanna, I will say this. The hard part is I don't know what to do with Clayton Kershaw if clutch is a thing, because his postseason struggles, and I can explain 50% of them away to a terrible bullpen, terrible mismanagement that has been done to him. But there is at least 25% of the Kershaw thing that if I believe in clutch, that I've got to reckon with.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's fair. I mean, and the numbers suggest that. I'm not saying Clayton is a great postseason pitcher. I'm not. Totally. He's not a great postseason starter. But I think the body of work that Clayton Kershaw has given you, the Dodgers aren't in the postseason perennially if Clayton Kershaw doesn't give you the regular season he's given you. So, I mean, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? it's very rare that you can be so clutch every fifth day and then be that unbelievable in the postseason. But Clayton is a Hall of Famer. I mean, look at Jeremy Affeldt, one of the best postseason pitchers in the game. Mad Dog Russo and I, Chris Russo and I had this conversation the other day that he doesn't think that Kenley Jansen is a future Hall of Famer. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. He's fifth on the list in saves all time. And I said, and he also does not think Trevor Hoffman is a Hall of Famer. How is Trevor Hoffman not a Hall of Famer? And he's saying, well, he doesn't have good postseason numbers. Well, how many times were the frickin' Padres in the postseason? Think about that too, you know? So I get it. I understand that. Yeah, I mean, does it give me agita sometimes thinking about it? Like, sure. But we're not in the postseason every year if it's not for Clayton.
Yeah. Let me shift. So interesting. Hall of Fame. We'll segue off of that. I remember sitting, I believe it was John Weissman. Hopefully I'm not off on that. But he said to me, he said, hey, other than like Clayton Kershaw, and I think this was before Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, all that. But he's like, who do you think the next Dodger is to go into the Hall of Fame? And I'm thinking. And his thought was, he goes, I think it's going to be Dave Roberts. I think Dave Roberts is going to be the next Dodger to be in the Hall of Fame. And the reason is, as manager. But just based on the fact that, like, you know, I say the stat and people hate the stat. He has the best winning percentage in Major League history among managers. Now, I'm not saying he's going to retire in the next couple of years, but it more speaks to how hard it is. I guess I should reframe. I think he said how many Hall of Famers are currently on the Dodgers roster was his thing. And it was, you know, the Clayton Kershaw piece, and Mookie Betts is going to be a Hall of Famer, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani.
I forgot about it.
You know, and then when it was Kenley Jansen, I think there's that kind of thing. But this is the question I wanted to ask you about Dave Roberts. He's obviously polarizing among Dodgers fans, to put it lightly. And you were kind of with the team. You were embedded with the team. And I feel like I do a poor job of being able to explain this. But my defense of Dave Roberts is often he is doing so many things that the average fan does not realize he's doing. And I point to the Padres as the perfect example. I say the Padres, if you want to see what the difference between a talented team with a good manager and a talented team with a bad manager, look at what happened to the Padres. Like, if you just think you assemble talent and you're going to win 100 games and anybody could do it, you're wrong. So I wanted to ask you, because you are the expert here. You were embedded with the team. Like, how would you explain to Dodgers fans what it is that Dave Roberts does? What's the secret sauce with this guy? Because it's not bullpen management. It's not setting the order. And I'm not saying he's even like as bad as people think he is at those things. But there's more to him, I think. So how would you answer the question of what makes Dave Roberts so indispensable, arguably, for the Dodgers?
Because Dave Roberts has to be a psychiatrist. And I think that's one thing that people do not understand. To your point, is that I think the actual game management, honestly, is one of the lowest things on the totem pole of what these guys have to do. You have to manage 26 different personalities. You think that Clayton Kershaw is motivated the same way Joe Kelly's motivated? You think when we had the clubhouse of Yasiel Puig in 2014, when Don Mattingly was still there, that whole clubhouse of Hanley Ramirez, Yasiel Puig, Juan Uribe, Matt Kemp, you think that was easy? Matt was there. Matt was in that clubhouse. I mean, that is like that clubhouse this was before Guggenheim took over and before Dave was there and Andrew Friedman was there and Donnie Baseball was still there. And Donnie was old school. You know, Don Mattingly, he just turned 63, I think, yesterday. Don Mattingly is an old school guy, and having to deal with those personalities is tough. Dave is really good at dealing with personalities. He's really good at connecting with everybody on his team, regardless of what makes them tick or how they work or how they get motivated, knowing when to approach, knowing when to leave them alone. He's one of the best in the business. I have had the opportunity, even before I covered the Dodgers, I was with the Rockies for 5 seasons. Most of my career, apart from being at MLB Network, has been in the National League West. And I knew Dave from my time with the Rockies when he was with the Padres. And it's not often that you would know the opposing first base coach or the opposing bench coach. I mean, you obviously know who their manager was and perhaps have conversations, but that's just who he is. He knows everybody. He's really good at the off the field stuff. He's unbelievable at the community stuff. He knows what the job of being a manager encompasses. And it's not just writing out a lineup and bullpen management. It's interesting that you think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know that I believe that, just because of the amount of World Series that he has not won. Obviously in 2017, and we know why, and blah, blah, blah. But think about, managerial appointments to the Hall of Fame. I obviously think of Boch with 3 World Series titles. I think Dave gets hurt not because of the winning percentage, but because he doesn't have the big wins. He has the one, obviously, the World Series in 2020. People are going to say that there's an asterisk. I can tell him to kiss my ass. It's not an asterisk. We won it fair and square. Everybody played 60 games. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think Dave is a Hall of Fame person. I don't know that he gets in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I should clarify, I'm not convinced that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. It was just an interesting idea. But like, if you asked me to pick, I could see a scenario where he manages the Dodgers for another 6 years. He's averaging 98 to 100 wins every single year and adds 1, maybe 2 more World Series to his resume. Like, I don't think.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, if they get to the World Series another couple of times, even if he doesn't win it, I think what's crazy is that look at the comparison with him and Dusty Baker. I mean, Dusty Baker's been in this game for 500 years, and he, the World Series win eluded him. He finally gets it with the Astros 2 seasons ago, and then all of a sudden he's a lock for the World Series. So, and I think Dusty, was going to get in eventually, obviously. But I think having that World Series championship solidified Dusty getting into Cooperstown.
So what's interesting real quick about Dusty Baker, just to put this in perspective for Dodgers fans, his career winning percentage is the 2024 Dodgers winning percentage. So as panicked as people are, yes, 540, 540 winning percentage. Dave Roberts, 628 career winning percentage.
There you go. Jeff is going to write Dave Roberts Hall of Fame speech too. So,
sign me up.
So to put a bow on that really quick, do you think then if Dave gets 1 more World Series, does that solidify his case, or do you think he needs maybe 2?
I mean, think about how quick the managerial carousel goes now, right? I mean, isn't Dave the longest tenured manager in the big leagues right now, other than Kevin? I mean, he's got to be the longest tenured in the National League, right? Yeah. Kevin Cash, I would think, in the American with the Rays. So, yeah, I think just based on longevity, and if he stays with the Dodgers another 5-6 years and he gets 1 more World Series championship, yeah, I'd think so.
Fair enough. All right. Jeff, any other baseball stuff you want to touch on?
We're good. Let's talk nonprofit. We'll give you a chance to talk Dodgers territory here in a sec. So you tee her up, Matt.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So Alanna, obviously when you were still here in LA with us, I know you launched Guidry's Guardians Foundation. You were very generous with your time with me anytime I wanted to bug you about dogs. And it's something I love dogs. Jeff has a dog as well. So this kind of hits home with us as well. So just go ahead and tell everybody how things are going.
No, I really appreciate that. Yes, I started Guidry's Guardian Foundation on the 4th of July of 2019, just because I knew that there was such a need for adoption and fostering. The whole mission of the foundation that started there in Southern California, because I was still living there. And that's still where the most of our philanthropy takes place, is in Los Angeles, the city and county shelters there and on the streets. The whole point is to get dogs off of the street and out of high-kill shelters. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dogs and cats are euthanized across our country every single year, just based on lack of space in shelters. Perfectly healthy and well-behaved animals are being killed just to make space, because there's a tremendous problem of people neglecting, abandoning, and surrendering their animals. And there's a huge backyard breeding problem where people are using animals for profit to pump out litters, and then when they're no longer profitable, they just dump the adults. So the whole point is to find as many dogs as we can, forever homes. We are almost 5 years old and continue to work our mission across the country, but Los Angeles obviously is where the majority of the funding and the effort goes. So you can check us out at GidrysGuardian.org. It's named after my dog, Guidry, who I adopted in 2009, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but there's been a lot of dogs saved in his name. And you can find us on social media at Guidry's Guardian, both on Twitter and Instagram, and then Guidry's Guardian Foundation on Facebook.
And folks can go there. You can donate. You can learn more about fostering. You can learn more about adopting. So go ahead. We've got the URL right here. We'll put it in the show comments as well. On YouTube. And then tell us about Dodgers territory, Alanna. Again, this is the new thing that brought you back. So tell us about
I appreciate that too. I'm new into this podcast world. You guys have been doing this for a long time, and I'm just getting my feet wet. I'm just learning. And my friends over at Foul Territory, it's a Foul Territory channel started by Scott Braun and Mark Weiner, who I used to work with at MLB Network. They branched off of the network and started Foul Territory, that channel. So they do a Foul Territory show Monday through Friday. And then they wanted to branch off into, doing a Dodgers specific show. And they called me, and obviously Clint Pasillas, very much into the podcast world and has a following as well. He is the host of All Dodgers. So check that out for Clint. He does like Thirsty Thursdays and, Monday morning overreaction and that type of stuff. So you can check him out. But Clint and I just co-host a show, and we get to talk about the Dodgers on Mondays and Fridays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And it's an opportunity for me to talk about the team I love. Because on MLB Network, A, if I talk about it, I'm a homer. B, we have 29 other teams to talk about. So it's an opportunity to just kind of get back to what I love and being part of that team every single day, even though I don't live in LA anymore.
Well, we love it. And you had me on. You had Scott Gearman on from Dodger Blue, which has been awesome. So check them out. Again, Dodgers Territory. If like she said, it's on the Foul Territory channel, but there's a playlist, I believe, that is specific to Dodgers Territory. Right. So check that out. You can find Alanna. You can find Clint on social media as well. So Alanna, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Best of luck with everything. We appreciate everybody for joining us here on Dodger Heads. I'm Jeff Spiegel. That's Matthew Moreno. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers.